Welcome to Kathie's Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Kathie Owen. Today's episode is all about a testimonial for a coaching program that I was in, and I invite you today to just put the earbuds in and listen to this as you go, because this one is pretty darn powerful. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay. I have a big surprise for you. And this is all my testimonial from all of my work I've done with Cintia, the most awesome coach. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. In fact, because your program is called Self Mastery, I have you taught me how to master myself. So I have a surprise for you before we even get started. And it has to do with a win that I had just yesterday. And I'm big in Toastmasters. And I went to my favorite meeting yesterday, and I got there and I entered the room with presence. And that's something that you had taught me. So when I walked in the room, I sat down next to my friend, and he told me, he said, "I'm really angry today, and I'm very, very tired, and I really shouldn't be here today." That's the first thing that happened. And when he told me that, I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's here because of presence, because of God, because of the universe or whatever." Second of all, there was a gentleman that was a visitor in the club. And when you have a visitor in Toastmasters, they get up and they introduce themselves. And this gentleman was a really handsome, young, very muscular Black guy. And he gets up and he talks, and he has a speech impediment. So that means he stuttered, and he stuttered really a lot. I kind of stutter a little bit myself. And yesterday was poetry day. So we read poems and did different things. And we had a break. And I went up to this gentleman and I told him, I said, "Do you know of this athlete?" And he said, "No, I don't know him." And I said, "He has the same speech impediment that you have." I said, "Go look him up and watch him." I said, "His speech impediment is actually a gift. He has to interview on national television. He was in the World Series this year. So he has to interview, and he's never overcome it. So go watch him." And it turns out to be a gift because he actually is a role model. And so whether what I said to him or not made a difference, but after the meeting resumed, this gentleman got up, and this is going to bring tears to my eyes. He got up and he rehearsed a speech by Maya Angelou, a beautiful, beautiful poem. I had tears in my eyes. He could not look up from his piece of paper. The first thing he said was, I'm very, very, very nervous, and we're very supportive. Toastmasters is the perfect place for him. And he read the whole poem. And while he was reading it, Cintia, in my heart, I could feel what had happened to him. It's not, it was God just telling me it was me. And it was everything that you taught me in self-mastery, because everyone is you pushed out. Yes, but it's more than that. And I almost can't even put it into words. So that is the gift that you brought. And just thinking of now, because I could see that in him. Now, when I'm working with my clients, I can see that in them because I went through it. And that's what this interview is going to be all about everything that I went through and how you guided me through it to self-mastery, to that pinnacle point. Because before I went to that meeting, the day before, I had all of these things running through my head. Should I text so-and-so? Should I do this? Should I do this? how is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? And at the end of our work together, you had taught me, go into meditation, go into ease. Everything is going to be easy. Let it all work. And I had always been trying to control, 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 control. And what I learned from you in that program is you don't have to control anything, because I was trying to control, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? How is this going to work? But instead, I went into meditation and the answer came to me. You don't need to do anything, Kathie. Just go and just be who you are, and with ease. So with that ease, I'm also going to talk about my weight loss journey and eventually. But because of my weight loss journey, I was able to wear the perfect outfit that gave me confidence. When I walked into that room, I went in there and I was like, it's like everything came full circle. It's like angels were singing, because I just walked in there with presence, and then all the little pieces, it was like synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity. And it was like a domino effect. And it was kind of like I could reverse the dominoes because of my work with you.
Wow. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have to say, so here's where we're going to start, because when I started my work with Cintia, it was like a 6-month program. I actually started on a smaller program with her first, and then she introduced me to this bigger program that she doesn't offer to everybody. And so I signed up for this program, and it's called Self Mastery, and I'll let her tell you more about it. But when I signed up for it, it was a 6-month program. But when I got to about the 5th month, or the 4th month probably, we had to start going every 2 weeks because I was under such, um my emotions, I couldn't regulate them. I I can see that now. I can connect the dots looking backwards, and I was having severe anxiety, like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was so severe. It was just like all running through my body. And I did not start coming out of that until we the pivotal point started in like September. So my program ended October 31st. And in September, I was having really bad anxiety about all these different things. And I want to ask you about this if you I know you remember this, because I was sitting there literally crying, telling Cynthia, I want to quit. I just want to quit. And I'll never forget this ever, ever, ever. She goes, quit? Quit what? And it was almost like a humorous thing, because it started breaking everything open, because I was like, wow, she's right. What can I quit? I got to keep going. So I want to ask you about that. Like, how did you know, like, how to say that? Like, it, I don't know. How did you know how to say that to me?
Yeah. Well, you know, I understand and I understood in that moment what you were going through and what you were experiencing. And so when we're learning and applying the teachings of conscious manifesting, it's something completely different and completely different to the way that we're used to living and doing things, like working for it, um, putting X amount of effort because then we deserve to have, whatever we are trying to get. And so when we are implementing the teachings and learning to live in this new way, you are learning who you truly are. And you're learning that the world is a reflection of you. And so when you say, I want to quit, there is really no quitting because the world is never going to stop being a reflection of you. And so you can, go back to the effort and whatever you used to believe about yourself and whatever, proving yourself and believing things about your worth and all of that. But that is never going to change the fact that the world is going to reflect those things to you. And so if you want to change your life, if you want to live a life of ease, then it is a choice that you get to make. But there is no quitting that the world is reflecting who you are or what you believe or, the things that you believe about yourself. And so you were understanding those things. And again, like there is no quitting how the world works, basically. And then from there, you get the choice. Like, do you still want to keep believing that you are a victim and believing that you have no power and believing like all those things that are not ideal and not aligned to what you want to experience? Like, do you want to believe that and then just keep having the same life that you used to have? Or do you want just to make a different choice? But truly, the world is always going to keep working in the way it does. And now you are understanding that. And so it was just releasing the effort. All that was needed. All that was needed was just to let go of the effort and the trying and all of that and the work, right? It was just letting go of that. But there was no quitting the fact that the world is just only going to show you who you are, who you're being.
Right? That's so oh, that's so true because um that was in September, and then the very beginning of October we went all in. And if you don't know Neville Goddard's teachings, it's where you just go all in on the end in mind. And this was a very, very pivotal moment for me. Even though I had known it intellectually all along, it's almost like the whole program was helping me to release the emotions and regulate. I even say regulate the emotions because my emotions were out of control and I let them control me. Whereas once we got to the part where you live from the end and the feeling is the secret, that was the moment everything started changing drastically, like fast in just days. Because what happened was, and I remember very vividly at the very beginning of it, I would go to my message center and I was part of the program was to tell Cintia I was living from the end and my vision, how I was feeling, what I was doing. And at first I would, I know you're going to like talking about this because it's funny. I laugh at myself now because at first I'd go, yeah, this is happening and this is happening. And it was all victim. Okay. But here's me living from the end and being the awesome, perfect coach that Cynthia is, she would still, help me regulate those emotions. But she goes, this is your loving reminder that this area is only for living from the end. And I think she only had to do it maybe 2 or 3 times. And I want to talk about why that was so pivotal because it's almost like indicative of the entire program. It's like had to I was forced to regulate my emotions and I was stuck in the 3D mind where I had to work all the time. I had to do all this social media content. I had to work by the hour because I'd been in corporate for so many years. And I want to talk about why that's so pivotal because regulating your emotions is important, but when you really live from the end, that's regulating your emotions in the ideal way. And when you do that, that's where the magic starts happening, that we're going to talk about a lot after we talk about why it's so important to just, okay, I see you, and this is what we're going to do.
Yes. I love what you're saying and how you're sharing that experience. And I like the way the program is um organized has it's taking that into account, because speaking from the end and living in the end is basically like the Neville Goddard's 101 teachings, like it's the basics. So that is, and if I don't know if all your audience is going to be familiar with Neville Goddard, but Neville Goddard taught the law of assumption, and he was teaching a specific way in which we can manifest consciously what we want. And so he would say that we need to live in the end. Basically, we need to experience now what we would experience if we already have what we wanted. And we do that in our imagination because the 3D reality that we are experiencing, our physical world, is showing us the things that we don't want. And that is why we feel compelled to want to consciously manifest something else. So since we cannot experience that in our physical reality, we experience that in our imagination through practicing different techniques. And well, he talks about different techniques. Something that you can do is imagine a scene. Another thing is to speak from the end, to have conversations. And usually he talks about inner conversations. So things that you are imagining for in like for yourself without necessarily speaking them out loud. But what I invited Kathie to do with me is to speak from the end out loud, like she was actually telling me her ideal day and whatever was happening. That was basically the last portion of the program. But that invitation to leave from the end was in the program for the very beginning in very different ways, because different techniques and different ways of trying this living from the end work for different people. And some people prefer this one and some people prefer this other one. And so the invitation is always there throughout the entire program, but there are different ways of practicing it. But the last part of the program is called being all in, which is we're only going to live in the ideal from now on. And whenever you communicate with me, it's going to be from the ideal, right? And what Kathie is saying, when we do that, it brings up the emotions that we would experience in that scenario, living that life. And so, however, in my experience and what I've seen in other people's experience, my clients and just friends and other people, is that we experience life. And if what we're experiencing is not what we would like, there are a lot of things to deal with when that shows up, when that happens. We have to deal with the emotions that come up. We have to deal with the thoughts that come up. We have to deal with it. But okay, I'm trying to imagine this, but this was showing up. How do I react? How do I interact with that situation? There are a lot of things that come up. And we need to know what to do with those things. And so in the beginning, my preference is to work with that and deal with those things and understand that you are not those things, that those thoughts and those emotions and even those circumstances are not who you truly are, and that they are happening, but they're not defining what is possible for you. And of course, we can hear these words and we can understand them, but then when you are in the middle of it, it's not the same thing, right? We actually need to put them into practice. And it is a very, I don't know exactly how to say, but it's a huge thing to actually be in the middle of the worst case scenario that you were fearing it would happen and actually know how to deal with it. And we're not even talking about manifesting something ideal, where I'm just talking about the actual dealing with the thing that you don't want, and dealing with the emotions that you no longer want to experience, and dealing with the thoughts that are there even though you know you don't want to think those things. Like, dealing with all those things is part of self-mastery. And sometimes there are different ways of coaching, and every way of coaching is perfect for one particular type of person. And so there are ways of coaching in which we do not speak about the old story at all. And so only the ideal, only the ideal, only the ideal. But I don't like that, because then it's like, I feel like I'm leaving that person alone to deal with all the thoughts and the emotions and the circumstances when they are not necessarily ready to do that. So I prefer to invite you to live from the end, but also deal with all those things and like guide you through all those things until you can do that on your own. Until like, oh, okay, wait, I understand. Like, I know what to do when I feel triggered. Oh no, I understand that this person is telling me that they hate me or whatever, but it's not personal. It's just like the old story. Like, I understand that now. Beyond intellectual understanding, it's like an actual integration and embodiment of that understanding. Like, oh, it's not personal. So whatever they're saying might be uncomfortable, but it was not like a couple months ago that I was like crying and feel like so bad. Or, oh, I feel triggered and it feels so uncomfortable in my body, but it doesn't trigger like all the spiraling down of the thoughts. It's like you're equipped now to deal with those things, so that when I invite you to go all in and truly drop that story does no longer have the grip on you that it used to. When you were truly identified as the person who was like truly feeling so bad and thinking all those things, now it's like, oh, this is happening. But I'm not that anymore. It is just happening and I can see it, and I can choose to let go. It doesn't have that grip anymore. So now we can go all in, and I can tell you, like, oh, yeah, I understand this old story that's coming up a little bit. Let's see it, acknowledge it, and now let's go all in. Like, let's drop it and let's go all in. And then we can fully go all in and talk from the end and feel those experiences. And whenever the old story shows up, it's like, no, I can let it go. It doesn't own me. It doesn't control me anymore. I can let it go. And so for me, that is self-mastery. Being able to drop that old story, not being controlled by it anymore, and being able to truly live from the end and experience all that the end has to offer freely and truly and completely. And so that is kind of the mix of conscious manifesting and self-mastery together, is kind of the whole package for me, not just the manifesting and then not knowing what to do with all the other things that come up while we're doing that.
Yes, because that's exactly what happened. I had so many old stories. I mean, I had so many old stories running through me. And I want to talk about how at the very end, we had a calendar where we have to track our wins. And thank goodness for that calendar. That was uh, so perfect, because I'd get a win. I mean, I got really big wins once we started going in on money, on my weight loss, on my relationships with everybody in my world. And I would forget them. because Cynthia had to bring it back up to me, and she'd go, um, you do know you manifested $10,000, right? You do know that. And not many people do that. And I was like, oh, shoot. And it helped me to go, you have to trust. You have to trust your intuition because it knows. It definitely knows. So I manifested the money. I had a very hard situation that I was going into, a high stakes conversation. And we just started this. And what we were to do every day was 20-minute meditation, at least one or two. I would do usually two, sometimes four, because it was especially that. And I remember distinctly, I had a conversation with a coach who told me, well, this could go wrong and this could go wrong and this could go wrong. And I mean, just all these things, like 3D things. And I'm like, holy crap, I was so freaking stressed out. And then I went into meditation for 20 minutes. I would have never done that in the past. What I would have done was I would have ruminated over everything that mentor told me about how this could go wrong and this could go wrong, because he was right. It could go wrong. And I sat in meditation for 20 minutes and totally let each thought go. Each thought go. That's just a thought. That's just a thought. I entered the conversation and I was scared. I was so freaking nervous because I could just think, oh no. And I had to go into this high stakes business conversation by myself. And I did it. And the results were miraculous. They were so nice to me. The call only took 10 minutes. And they're like, yes, here you go. You want that? Yes. And I mean, I was asking for the most random things that most businesses would go, "Hey, I don't owe you." They did not owe me that. They gave me this. They gave me this. And I was like, okay. Um, I I couldn't believe it. But that win was stuck in me. But then I had another win that somebody asked me to be a guest speaker, and I just took it. And that led me down a whole bridge of incidents that changed everything, my business, everything. And the thing I want to really stress is I went into it with no expectation. And that's really, really important, because if I had gone into it with an expectation, even my meeting yesterday, when I went into that meeting, I went into it with no expectation. All I had was presence. That's it. Because that's what I learned. And because when you go into it with presence, you open up to even more, because I'm not kidding you. This is going to generate millions of dollars in my business. And it's not about the money. It was never, ever, ever about the money. It's about the impact, because the impact that this person or these people that are coming into my business now, because I'm not doing social media, because I'm not doing all of the, how is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? Because Cynthia guided me. Brings tears to my eyes because it's so powerful. She guided me to go, look, Kathie, just go relax, go enjoy yourself, take a nap. You want to take a nap? You want to go for a walk? Go for a walk, go enjoy yourself. I could not believe it until it really happened. And so I started doing that, and I'm like, holy crap, I magnetized this, and this is going to happen. And when I say millions of dollars, I'm not kidding you. It's going to be millions of dollars, because I have manifested. And I don't even like the word manifestation, because it doesn't even qualify it. It's more about presence, because I allowed it to just happen the way presence wants it to happen. It's beyond my wildest imagination. Like, even my feeling from the end. And I had to get this discipline in me too, because a lot of times I'd be like, the end wills the means, end wills the means, because I'd get on calls with other coaches or other people who I mentor and I support as well. And they're like, me pushed out. They're living out all these old fears I had lived because it was the old man thinking. And I want to talk about that too. Don't let me forget. But the they were all my old thinking. And it's so funny now because, okay, remember this whole thing ended October 31st. So now all of a sudden, these same exact people are telling me, I just manifested $10,000. I'm like, holy crap. My business just did this. And I'm not kidding you. These people were like, just like me going, oh my God, I can't even pay my bills next month. And now they're manifesting that. And we're bouncing ideas off of each other. And I also want to add, if they don't think like that, they disappear. They're I can't even see them anymore in my world. And it's not like we got in a fight or anything like that. It's like presence took it away. Right.
Mm.
So
Wow. 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 I just love everything that you're saying. And I love when you say the word manifesting doesn't even cut it anymore because it's not what it is. And you are so, so right. Because you are not manifesting anything. You're not trying to get anything. You simply stopped all that and you are allowing your true self just to be. And that is enough. And that realization is just so freeing. And you are seeing the results of it and the reflections of it in every area of your life. Oh my God, it's just so beautiful.
yeah, in every area of my life, every single area. Um, so I want to talk about my weight loss because this wasn't even on my radar. I am a personal trainer. I've worked out for 25 freaking years and the weight, I don't even step on the scale because I'm like, I've always weighed the same. Even at this point, I don't, I weigh every once in a while. So I go to the gym one morning and I'm like, okay, let me go weigh in. And, in the US, our scales are like 150 and you put the thing on 150 or you put it on 100. Now, I usually hit 150 because I got a lot of muscle on me. So I weigh a lot more. And so I step on the scale and it was like not 150. And I've been over 150 pounds for forever, probably 20 years. And I had to put it down to 100. I lost 35 pounds and just magically went off of me because my ideal self needs to be this weight. And the reason I say that is because it's not like I have to also talk about this. So I saw my youngest son not too long ago. He was freaked out that I was losing weight. He's like, "Are you sick? Are you okay?" But what it was is I had been in anxiety mode. And I know this as a personal trainer. My body had been releasing adrenaline and cortisol 24 hours a day. So my body was inflamed. There's inflammation all over there. That's what was causing the weight gain. And my son had seen me. I went through a lot of trauma when he was little too. So I had been anxiety all these years. But because I was a personal trainer and because I was doing fitness all the time, my body maintained its weight. But now that I can honestly say, if I feel anxiety, it's a sign that I'm not in the right place. That it's my intuition telling me, Kathie, just get. And it's always been that way. I just didn't know how to listen to it. And so I'll never forget this ever, ever, ever. It was during the month of October when I was doing my wins, and I had left a message for Cintia in my message machine thing. And I told her, I said, I think I'm not going to feel anxiety anymore. Or I said, and if I do, I know how to handle it. Well, she came back with a message to me that said, you're not going to have anxiety anymore. It was like she prophesized it over me or something. And ever since that day, if I feel anxiety, it's a reminder to me that I'm either in the wrong room or I'm doing something trying to figure out the how. And it's a reminder to me to go sit in meditation and listen to my intuition because it knows the way. And it's going to lead me somewhere. It could tell me to go to freaking Petco and go look at the dogs there or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it's going to tell me, I'm going to do it because it because it's not, it's going to be the most random thing that you just never know. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that when you said, like, I loved it because you were celebrating, like, your breakthrough and your freedom from anxiety. And then you were saying, and when it comes back, I know what to do with it. And I was like, it's not coming back. And when I say that, I say it from a decision. Like, it is a decision of what are we going to accept and what we are not going to accept anymore. Because it is our choice. It is your choice. Why would you have to accept to experience something that you don't want to? You don't have to do that. And so there are certain things that happen that we simply put ourselves in a position as if we were not able to choose or to decide something else. And health, anxiety, the body, a lot of different things. We may have lived our lives experiencing that as something that we don't have any power over. But, now we're living from a different space. We are seeing ourselves as the powerful beings that we are, and as that being that can decide, what is it that I want to experience? What is it that I don't want to experience? And according to that, I make the decision. This I don't accept anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to talk about this real quick because I love watching sports. I'm an avid sports fan of all kinds. And one of my favorite things I've always loved doing is watching a football game and drinking a few beers, not to drown out my sorrows. And plus, me and my partner, we like doing that. That's just our thing that we do together. And, I watch sports and analyze everything that's going on. But I had gotten to a place where I shamed myself for drinking beer, and actually my mind had told me don't drink because it triggers more anxiety like the next day or something like that. And once I got to this realization that it was a choice, it almost happened like right after that, um, when you said it's not coming back. And so it's almost like I gave myself permission. I'm like, okay, cool. It's not come back. I can go drink a few beers now. And now I do that. And I have to add this too, because like when I'm out drinking beer, part of my journey was I wanted to magnetize my clients to me. That's just that's from the very beginning because I didn't want to go try to sell something to somebody. I never, ever, ever want to do that. I don't have to do that because I did master myself and I did magnetize. So when I'm at a sports bar, I start talking to everybody around me. And next thing I know, I have everybody talking. May not be talking to me, but everybody's connecting with each other. And I'm just watching it. I'm sitting back going, okay, this is pretty cool, and it may lead to business. It may not lead to business. I want to go back to it's not about the how. It's just about letting it happen and letting it be. And so the choice at the very end of the program, Cintia goes over the very first lesson. And I'm like, how could this be? This cannot be the situation, whatever. And the whole lessons were all right there in plain sight. But the very end of our call, she said that, and I want you to talk about this. She said Neville got to a point where he was just so good at manifesting, it was just a choice. And, I could never wrap my mind around it, but me having beers just became a choice. And she kind of touched on it just a second ago. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes back as well to that way of living when we have to work for things. And so in everyday life, before we come across the conscious manifesting teachings, we're used to working for things. It's like, oh, if I do this, then I will get this, right? And there is this effort that I need to put in, and then I need to be worthy of these things. And if I do these things, then I will get what I want. And so when we start manifesting consciously, we come across all these amazing techniques, right? And so we start to put them into practice, but with the same mentality that if I do technique, then I get what I want, right? It's like, oh, I need to fulfill this condition in order to get what I want. In the same way that before manifesting, we had to fulfill this condition in order to get what we want. But this time we've just switched the condition. Now the condition is I have to do this technique in order to get what I want. And so the reason why we can manifest something is because we have accepted something as true. We have accepted that we are a particular person that has something, or we have accepted that our fulfilled desire is true. That acceptance is what manifests. The technique is simply the tool that allows us to accept that what we want is true. Because if we want an experience that we've never had and that is different from what we're seeing in the physical world, and we are used to accepting the physical world as something that is separate from us and that there's nothing we can do about it, then we need to convince ourselves that something different than what we're seeing with our physical eyes is real. And in order to do that, we practice the technique. We imagine, oh, I already have it. I have it right now. Or we speak as the person who already has it. Yeah, I am this person. I have it right now. And that practice helps us to accept the reality of the fulfilled desire. But that condition, that technique is not required. It is useful, but it is not a condition to manifest. The moment we accept that what we want is true, that what we want is what is, that it is already done, then that manifests. And so that is why you use the techniques and say, oh, yeah. Now this is real. Now this is who I am. But the more you see that the world is not separate from you, that it is your reflection, that you're one with it, then you start to understand that you don't need the technique, that you can make the decision, and that is it. And so that is why I'm talking about, oh, I'm deciding this, and this is what it is. And you can manifest that way. And again, because what I like to do is to remove conditions. I love to remove conditions, like all the conditions that we place between who we are and what we want to get, right? And so in manifesting, we may see like this condition of, oh, I need to do this technique in order to get that. Let's remove that. Now let's say, I need to make this decision in order to get that. Yes, perfect. But then there's also what you have understood is that you don't even need to manifest anything, because simply by allowing yourself to be who you truly are, that manifests things that you can even, like, you don't even know that you want. Because you're simply allowing your perfect self to be. And then when you allow your perfect self to be, then the world reflects that perfection. There is no effort. There is not even the need to decide that this is what I want and is real. It's just like, oh, I'm allowing myself to be my perfect self, whatever I feel inspired to do, and whatever fills me with joy, I'm going to do that. And perfect. It is enough.
Oh, yes. That's it in a nutshell. It's like the whole thing, but it's so hard. So Cynthia is so good at what she does. I'm going to talk about how she, I don't even know if she, I know she realizes this because she helped me break this apart. But because she's so good at what she does, that I learned a really powerful lesson. I am a big nighttime dreamer. I analyze my dreams. I'll go into ChatGPT and talk about my dream and go, what's going on here? And so during this process, and I want to say this happened towards the end after we started going all in, I had two dreams I want to talk about. The first one was I dreamed that I was at a hotel, or yeah, a hotel, and I was up on one of the high levels, and this old lady grabbed me around my waist and was like hanging off of my body like a zombie almost. And she was suffocating me. I mean, it even physically hurt me. I was like, I can't get her off of me. I can't get her off of me. And so I went to the elevator and I went down to one of the earlier floors, and I found this big black man, and I said, would you get this old lady off of me? I can't get her off of me. And he pried her off of me because he was strong, and it was like, it was so prophetic, and I remember telling Cynthia my dream in there. She's like, the old lady, that's because you're a woman, it's the lady, but it's old man thinking. And it was so symbolic. And that's one dream that I want to talk about, and how it relates to the fact that um, I I was learning that I'm the operant power. That's the whole thing I was learning. And that's the lesson Cynthia had guided me to at this point in time when I had this dream. And so that was just my subconscious reiterating what she was teaching me, that the old man thinking you're going to need help to get it off of you, but you have it. And that's something that Cynthia brought to my attention. She goes, you do have people helping you. See, look, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay. So yeah, remember that dream?
Oh, I do remember that dream, yeah. And for those of you watching who don't know, so Neville Goddard talks about the old man thinking, and also because he quotes the Bible a lot, and that is also from the Bible. It's like when you are choosing to only accept your ideal, you are leaving the old man behind. So the old man thinking is the identity that was manifesting your old reality. So the identity that believed certain things about who you are, the identity that believed that this was possible, but this wasn't possible, the identity that believed that it wasn't enough to get certain things, the identity that believed all those old stories. And so that is what Neville calls old man thinking, right? And sometimes that old man can come up, right? Come back and start with all those old thoughts and these old stories and these old ways of being. But of course, Kathie is a lady. So there was this lady, right? Like this old lady that wouldn't want to let go and that would want to, hold on to her. And she was letting go of that old lady. But she was like, no, holding on for dear life. Like she didn't want to go. And she was like, oh, no, you're going. And even, I mean, I cannot get you off of me, but I'm going to get this help. And these people are here for me. And together we're doing it. And she did. And that, it was so fun. So I was like, oh, the old lady is fine.
I know. That's so funny. Oh, that's just so funny. So I also want to talk about another dream that I had. I have so many dreams, but this other dream that I had. So I know Cynthia from Joseph Rodriguez. I was part of his mastermind, and I had heard Cynthia talk, and that's how I even hired her. I'm not the type of person that just go find somebody on the internet and go, I'm going to hire a manifestation coach, because I really don't even, manifestation is not even a word I use, because that's just not how I even think of it. It's bigger than that. And I would hear Cintia talk in the mastermind. I'm like, yeah, I gotta work with her, because the things she would talk about was a lot of what I was dealing with. And so Joseph is our leader, and actually he embodies this lesson of do nothing, and he teaches entrepreneurs how to run their business, and they don't have to do anything. He teaches what Cintia taught me too. And it's just coming from both sides, so I got it really clear, crystal clear. So I had this dream one night that I had met this girl that had dated Joseph or something like that. And I told her, I said, I want to pick his brain. And she goes, you don't need to pick his brain. Just meditate like him. And she goes, this is what he does. Because she dated him, she knew how he did this. She goes, he just elevates himself to the top of the room, and he looks at it from different angles. And each angle shows him something different. Well, about 2 weeks before I had this dream, I was in meditation, and this is the first time this ever happened to me. I came above my body, and I saw myself in a maze and it was infinite mazes. Well, they weren't infinite mazes, because once you get to the bird's eye view, like Joseph was in the room looking at it from all different angles, you see clearly, you see the path of how things are going to happen. So in the maze, I'm like I'm following this person's advice, and I'm following this person's advice, when really and truly all I needed to do was go get the bird's eye view and see way above everything else and get out of the maze. And when I told Cintia that I had that happened to me in meditation, she said one of her mentors had that happened. It said that that's what happens in meditation, and so ever since then, I've been getting more and more of those. But that's what Joseph is. He's always been embodying that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that you had like those kind of that message show up twice in these two different dreams. And we talked about kind of those 2 points of view and how we as human beings, so that's the thing, we experience life as this human being, believing that that is all we are. But then when we learn that we can manifest, then we start to see the world in a different way. It's like, oh, it's not separate from me. But then we also start asking questions about who we are, right? Because we start to see ourselves in a completely different way as well. And so we start to understand that, oh, yeah, I am this character, but who I truly am is bigger than that, which is what you were saying, understanding that you were the operant power. And so, again, the human self is not manifesting anything, because the human self cannot know, okay, how is this going to happen? How do I get from here to there? Like, from this point of view, we can only see what is directly in front of us and maybe imagine a couple of steps ahead what that could happen. But we can never see the full picture and all the possibilities that exist. But that bigger self can. And so you were experiencing like, oh yeah, I don't need to figure it out. I'm in this maze and I don't need to figure out. I need to find like the exit or the solution or whatever. I can trust in my bird's eye view self, like this bigger self that does see all the possibilities and knows the perfect way for me to get what I want. And maybe is posting something online, or maybe is going to take a walk, to go to the park and to have a conversation with someone, to have a cup of tea. Like so many unexpected ways in which what we want can come. We as human beings, as from this point of view, we cannot see those possibilities. Like, we cannot figure all these things out. And so when we finally stop trying to do that, and then we just allow that bigger self to guide us, which is what you were talking about that intuition, right? It's like, oh yeah, I have this open power. Like, I am this open power and have this other point of view from which I can see everything. And if I just allow myself to be guided by that, I just don't need to figure anything out anymore. And I can trust, and I can just be, and I can just allow these things to happen effortlessly.
Yep, that's the magic happens. And this brings it all full circle, just full circle. So let's go back to the very beginning where I walked into that room with presence, with no expectations of how things were going to happen. I was just listening to my intuition, just Kathie, go in there and, you know, go talk to that person and eh, um just let your intuition guide you. And so I'm also part of another mastermind that we're friends with, and I'm this does is relevant, and this is like the end of everything, but we're doing what is called anomalous challenge, where we're just going up to people and talking to them randomly. And when you do that, the synchronicities that start happening is very similar to what we're talking about here. And so I've started doing that, but this was also like walking into that room with presence. It's like you're going in there as an anomalous challenge, like, let's see what'll happen. Just go. And don't expect anything of it, because what comes of it is magic. Like, it just phenomenal magic. And I look back because I probably started working with you exactly a year ago. I think it's been a little bit more than a year ago now. And I look back at the whole journey, and that's where it's always been guiding me, but I was making it harder on myself. That old lady thinking was making it harder on me. And I actually had a psychic tell me many, many, many years ago that my spirit guide is huge and he's giant. She saw him in the room or whatever. She said he's huge and he's giant. But I have to tell you, he laughs at you a lot. And I'm like, of course he does, because, I get it now. Well, I got it then too, because I was always doing silly things. But the reason he laughed at me is because I make it harder on myself than it has to be. And if you want to encapsulate the lesson of everything, that's what it is. Because from day one, Cintia had always been telling me this. If you go watch her live on her Instagram on Sundays, you'll see she's talking this all along, but because she's such a great coach and this is how I strive to coach. And actually I do embody this now because it's just natural. That's part of presence. And you can guide somebody through, you can see with compassion and and it's not even empathy, it's bigger than that, because you can see, oh yeah, I was there. No wonder my spirit guide was laughing at me, because it's so funny, it is funny now. And again, I have to say, it's bigger than compassion, it's bigger than funny. Just like my spirit guide is bigger than the room. You can't even put words in it. The success and the profoundness, that the impact that they have when you hire a coach like Cintia, it's bigger than the dollar sign. It's going to last me for lifetimes. And my consciousness is now expanded to where I see things that I couldn't see before, and my body doesn't have anxiety anymore. And if it does, it's just a sign that I'm in the wrong place. And probably that my spirit guide is laughing.
Oh, I love it. And I love that, you know, kind of that relationship with that bigger part of us. Um, that it's just the way that I see it is just like just there waiting, right? Waiting for you to not even come back home, but to realize that you never left, that you are safe where you are, that you're perfect already, right? It's just there, like waiting, unconditionally loving, unconditionally loving. It's not like even laughing in a kind of mean or like making fun. No, it's just in a loving way. It's like, oh, she hasn't remembered yet, but I'm here for her. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to end this here. I'm going to let Cynthia tell you where you can find her on social media. And of course, all of these will be linked in the show notes and description below, because I am just going to put this episode out there without, because my intuition is saying, don't even put an intro on this. Don't put anything. This is how Kathie operates now. This is authenticity. That's it. That's present authenticity. And that's how I run my business now. That's how I do everything, how I do any relationship, anything that I work with. And I can tell you with all my heart, it's like the most beautiful place ever, ever. And I think we make it harder on ourselves than it has to be. And just try. Go follow her on Instagram and listen to her content and, you know, go check it out. So where can they find you? And you just say, thank you for watching today.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at manifesting_my_self. And I go live there every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. EST. So you're more than welcome to come to have a conversation with me. I go live to discuss Neville Goddard's teachings and conscious manifesting, and especially how to apply these teachings in our everyday life. So yeah, I would love to have you there to meet you and to have a wonderful conversation with you. And you can also visit my website if you want to see my services. It's manifestingmyself.com. And yeah, it was lovely. Thank you so much, Kathie, for having me. And thank you so much for watching.